Hi guys, I'm finally back home. I was gone for 2 weeks and a few days, and I'm finally back home. And so I wanted to do videos while I was gone, but it's just so hard when there's a different time zone and I'm not in my routine, and it just kind of throws me off, which is kind of a bummer. And I want to get to a place where I can stay in my routine even when I'm traveling, because that's just something I really want to do. But I know I'll get better and better at it, and for now I will just try to do a video every day this week. Alright, so I'm actually on my walk now. I go on a walk every day when I'm at home, and I don't get to do that when I'm out of town, so it's like one of the first things I'm doing when I'm back home. But so alright, so today's question, whoops, sorry, I only have 2 hands. Oh, please don't please don't flip. Okay, alright, here we go. It is from Merrily Heard 3889, and it is, do you find it easier to connect with others who have left Scientology or to the Never-Ins? I thought that was a good question for me today, because I just had something happen in the last 2 days that I felt like really helped, like, sort of illustrate the answer to this question. And that is that when I was on my way home, so my first flight to come back home was canceled, and that was kind of a bummer because I had already not seen my kids for a week, and I'd already just like not been in my own space, and I don't know, it just was time for me to go home. And then so I was rebooked onto another flight the next day, and except it had a layover in Charlotte, and basically I got on that flight and I got to Charlotte, and then my flight to San Diego was canceled. And so I was kind of in this place where I knew I didn't know anybody, and it was basically like I was on the phone for hours and to try to get a new flight, and they were saying that I wouldn't be able to come home for another 2 days. The airport was really crowded, nobody was really getting help, and it just was like, it was kind of traumatic. I know that's not a big deal, and it's something that happens all the time, but by the time I got a flight, and then I got a hotel, and I got into the room, I just kind of like broke down and started sobbing, and I didn't really know why. I mean, I've done so much travel in my life, and I just didn't know why this was such a big deal. And I kind of realized that this is the first time since I've been divorced that I've been in a hotel by myself. So usually it was like my ex-husband and the kids and things like that. And so whenever I was traveling, I never really felt alone. But still, it just isn't that big of a deal. Like, it's not like I don't know how to do all those things myself or haven't done them to one degree or another, like, you know, calling the Uber, booking the hotel, changing my flight, etc. But I guess what I realized is that it was really bringing up this feeling that I always had when I was a kid and I was in Scientology, where I would travel, like I would be put on flights on my own, like, you know, at one time when I was 8 and I went to Clearwater, another time when I was 12 and I went to Clearwater, or another time when I was 16 and I went from Clearwater to LA. And it was like this feeling where, you know, where I kind of felt like, well, I didn't know where I was going. Like, I didn't know, okay, when I was 16, I knew where Florida and LA was, but we weren't really educated in geography, and I'm somebody who's like terrible with directions. And so when I was 8 and I was first going to Clearwater, I remember a nice adult on the plane was trying to talk to me like I was a little kid, which I was a little kid. I just thought I was an adult in a small body. So I thought she was crazy for talking to me like I was a little kid. And she was like, "Are you going to Tampa?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to Flag." And she was like, "I don't know where that is." And so I honestly didn't even know where I was going. And so I felt lost in the world. And so it was very scary for me to be sent on these flights, but I never, I was scared, but I just kind of kept it all inside because my emotions would be considered like a bother for adults who were doing important work. And so I just kept it all in. But I remember the first time I arrived to Clearwater, it was when my mom was there when I was 8 and I was visiting her, and I came out of the plane and I saw her and I was there, but she didn't recognize me. And so I even ran up to her and gave her a hug, and she was still looking for me. And so that was just it was just a little bit scary for me. And then I remember when I was 12 and I went to Clearwater on my own. None of my parents were there, so both of my parents were in California. So it was 3,000 miles away from both of my parents. And sorry, someone just walked by. Anyways, so, and when I got to the airport, the person who was supposed to pick me up just wasn't there. And I didn't have a phone. I didn't even know where Flag was in relation to the airport. I didn't know who to call, and they wound up showing up, but 2 hours later. But I had no way of knowing they were coming. And when I was on other flights on my own, but I just remember these ones specifically. When I was 16 and I was brought to LA, I was just on the flight by myself. I didn't know why I was going there. I didn't get to say goodbye to any of my friends or anything. And then when I arrived in LA, I was picked up, but the city was so big, I didn't know where anything was. I didn't even know who I was getting picked up by when I was supposed to get there. And it just, because I didn't know where anything was, it just led to this feeling of just feeling completely lost. But if I brought up that, I wouldn't even have considered bringing that up as something I was worried about, because it just seemed like it would just be a problem for everybody, and I should just shut up and do what I'm supposed to do. And so I just would occasionally, even when I wasn't flying, but when I was miles and miles away from anybody, from my family or from other friends, I would just occasionally get this feeling that was I was sort of just like a cog in a machine, and I was being sort of shifted around for purposes of Scientology. And it was almost like I didn't really know if anybody was really looking out for me, or honestly, I knew nobody was. And it was just this feeling of just kind of scary, or if I landed somewhere and no one was there to pick me up, then what would I do? I wouldn't know who to call. I wouldn't know what to say. And yeah, so I kind of realized that last night when I got to the hotel room and I was sobbing. And the reason why this really, really long story is relevant to this question is because my friend Sandy, who is a never-in, and she's somebody who is my good friend. She has the podcast Sins of Scientology, and I met her in Clearwater. The second my plane landed, I got a text from her. She was like, "Was your flight canceled?" I guess because she knew a bunch of flights were being canceled. And I was like, "Yes." And I would just kind of went into this freeze state, and for some reason she just knew, she instantly texted me the number to call the airline. She started texting me hotels. She was telling me that she'll stay on the phone with me or anything else like that I needed. And it was just like, it was so sweet, honestly. Like, it was just everything I needed. And even though I kind of still freaked out and was crying, it was just like so nice to have that kind of empathy from somebody, where like if I had freaked out kind of like that before, then it just would have been like, why are you being so dramatic? Why are you making such a big deal about nothing? And it was just like so nice to have somebody like kind of empathizing with me in that way, and also like doing the actions doing the things like helping me find out if the hotel had a shuttle to the airport and things like that. It was just exactly what I needed, and it was so sweet. And without that, I just feel like I would have had like a little mini breakdown, even though it's not a big deal. Just, it was a big deal for me in my mind at that time for reasons that I just didn't really understand. And it just sort of illustrates a way that even though people who were in Scientology with me, they can empathize with me in certain ways because they've experienced the things that have happened, they also, in some ways, do not see the gravity of it because it is normalized for them. And so it's almost like, and that's not true in all cases, that's just a general statement that is not always true, but is a little bit true. Whereas somebody who was never in, who maybe had like a normal childhood, kind of knows how it's normalized to anticipate other people's needs, and it's normalized to be empathetic, and also they kind of know what was missed out on. And I don't know, there's just something about that is so sweet and is its own special type of relationship that I'm so grateful to have that friendship with somebody who I met through SPTV, and who's just a wonderful person, and who is just my really good friend. And also when I'm in, just another example of a relationship that I have with a never-in is when I'm in Clearwater, my friend George, he like just always goes out of his way to make sure that I'm having a good time. He shows me beautiful places in Clearwater because he's trying to always show me the real Clearwater versus, the one that I grew up in. And my kids were there for the first week I was there, and he really just like went out of his way to make them feel special. They loved him. And after and he and Sandy both met them separately, and they just both went out of their way to make them feel like they were just so special, and they were so excited to meet them. And it just really made my kids feel so like, I don't know, like they had friends all over the world who knew of them, and just like safe and secure. And so I said to George, I was like, thank you so much for being so nice to my kids and for making them feel so special. And he said, they are special. And I just thought that was so sweet. And I just think that just the way that these friends that I've made and who are never-ins, it's just so unbelievably sweet. And it's just its own thing versus what I get out of relationships with ex-Scientologists. So while I was out of town in Clearwater, I had Serge calling me all the time. I had Sterling calling me. I texted with Natalie almost every day. And it's just like there is an automatic understanding of what I may be going through or what they might be going through. There's an automatic camaraderie and sort of like an automatic trust, which maybe is something that has to be more acquired with a never-in. But the reality is that both relationships are extremely special, and it's such an amazing marriage of two different types of people. I think that we need each other. Well, maybe I need maybe we need the never-ins more than the never-ins need us. But also I think that a lot of never-ins have their own stories of abusive relationships or traumatic childhood or a traumatic childhood where, you know, maybe sometimes hearing our stories and talking about it, that they get something, or you guys get something out of that as well. And yeah, so I can't say which one I relate to more. I'm just so grateful to have both in my life. And yeah, it's just meant so much to me lately. And just another example of, you know, when I was kind of freaking out yesterday too, I had Sandy being there for me, but also my ex-husband, Dallas. I told him, oh, I'm freaking out because I haven't been away from, I haven't been at a hotel on my own, and I miss the kids. And he, you know, he just like reassured me, and he was like, and he was the one who mentioned that it's probably just from when you were a kid and you were, you know, being sent all around to different places. And I can see how it would bring all that up. And so he's somebody who was in Scientology, who's no longer in Scientology, who just really sweet to basically have this richness in my life of both types of people, ex-Scientologists and never-ins. And it just honestly makes me feel rich, and it makes me feel complete, and it's just really, really sweet, and I'm so grateful for it. All right, well, I think I went on a much longer roll than I needed to, but I'm back home. I'm gonna start trying to do videos every day because I want to, not because I feel like I have to, but because I'm starting to enjoy it. And I will, and I also want to start doing some of the cooking things, but anyway, I'll start with one video a day, and then we'll get to those things. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I just wanted to give a big thank you, and send hugs and kisses to George and Sandy and Natalie and Serge and Sterling and all the people who were checking up on me these last 2 weeks. And I wanted to say that Sins of Scientology has a new episode out today, so you should check it out. And that's pretty much it. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.